Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Yes, here we go. Welcome in. Follow the Money show presented by DraftKings. Paulie Howard, beast mode all week. Matt Youmans is here. Game 7 tonight. Can't wait. Jonathan Davis, picks and props. Go we see the historic comeback and the choke job here. Can Edmonton get it done? Jonathan Von Tobel on the NBA draft, which is Wednesday. JT the Brick. We continue our team previews. We're looking at the Raiders today as we continue with the AFC West. Do you concur? Skeens does it again. Good baseball card. A lot to get to coming up. And John Murgis studio made book for the Chicago mob in the 80s. We'll visit with him. A good article about John in the Chicago Sun-Times. How are you?
Great to be here.
All right.
I love this 4 a.m. Pacific time shift. It's right up my wheelhouse. Paul, you've been doing this for a long time. What, 7 years on this early morning show? How many years do you have left in you? 5, 10? How long can you do this?
No less than a year.
It turns your life upside down.
It's no good, man. It's a tough racket, no doubt about it.
Sounds like we got a loaded show today, and how about this? 2 championship games tonight.
I know.
Stanley Cup and the College World Series. So,
well, I saw a lot of people ripping the NHL, saying only the NHL could blow this because you're playing. Well, why didn't you play over the weekend or a Sunday night? But between the travel and how it worked out, I mean, I know it because you played on a Friday night, which is historically bad because everyone's going out and family night, whatever. But you go Game 6 on Friday, now you go Game 7 on Monday. But, you know, I would have liked to have it on a Saturday or a Sunday, but that's how it worked out because they were so concerned about the schedule and the historic. We never had this much travel in a Stanley Cup final. Yeah. So here we go on a Monday night, and we'll see what happens in the College World Series.
It's not the end of the world. A lot of people complain about the schedule. And with the, like you said, as it turned out with the lengthy travel between Edmonton and South Florida, it becomes something that makes complete sense. And it's great to have. We're sitting here on June 24th, and we still have hockey. Think about that.
Yes,
it's the NBA Finals were a dud, but the Stanley Cup Finals have been outstanding.
All right, I'm ready, and I can't wait. This is the most excited I've been for a hockey game since 1994. I think this is the biggest hockey game since Game 7, 1994, Rangers-Vancouver, when the Rangers ended the drought and they won in 7. Nothing better in sports than a Game 7. Can Canada end the drought? Can McDavid hoist the trophy and win it all? You fire your coach at the start of the season, and everything changes under Knoblauch. So the collapse here and choke job by the Panthers, which is on the line. I mean, so much here going on. Conn Smythe, 0-3, Canada ending the drought, Game 7. I mean, I think this is the biggest game since 94 because of what's on the line here. And again, nothing better than a Game 7, and I can't wait tonight. And just to put this in perspective, going into the third period of Game 3, it was 11-1 Florida, total goals in the series. Since then, it's 20-5 Edmonton. So I thought maybe they found something in the third period of Game 3. They lost that game 4-3, but trailed 4-1 entering the third. And you're talking about historically great numbers with Bob, and he's going to win the Conn Smythe, and they can't score on him. And now he's been a basket case. He's given up soft goals. And Ray Ferraro made a great point. Oh, it's just one game. It doesn't matter what the score is. And Florida is frozen. And they sent a message, and Florida is spooked, was the word Ferraro used. And I agree with it. They were spooked by what happened in Game 4. To get beat 8-1 in a hockey game when Bob had played so well, it changed the whole series. It changed, and I'm not a big momentum guy, but you can win more than one game, as we saw what happened with that game poor performance. Because since that third period, as I mentioned, it's 20-5 Edmonton. But Bob, who was so good at the start of the series and so good in the playoffs, has allowed 14 goals on the last 64 shots. This is madness, how everything is flipped in this series now.
No question about it. Well, it's 18-5 in the last 3 games, right? So,
yeah.
We've been talking a lot about this on the shows. What caused this series to turn on a dime? And I think it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it was because the first 3 games looked like Florida was too good defensively, too physical, punishing the Oilers, and then everything just completely turned around. You know, you can talk about Game 4 and the Oilers winning that in the blowout and how, they won more than one game. But if you think back to the NBA Finals, it was a similar situation where the Mavericks won Game 4 by 38 points. Mm-hmm. And then they came back in Game 5 and got blown out in Boston. But the Panthers have now found a way to bounce back here, and I think that's shocking for a lot of people who are just not used to teams down 3-0 coming back this strong. You're talking about 1994. I remember that Rangers team.
Great series.
I'm thinking about 2004, the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Oh, no doubt.
That's what this reminds me of.
Absolutely. So people that will kick that around, too, coming up about biggest choke and where this would rank, and Matt's a Yankee fan, so that's been brought up several times in the last week as well. So for the third straight game, I'm going to say this too. Based on Ferraro's comments, and he's exactly right about being spooked and frozen, the first goal tonight's enormous. And you saw how well Edmonton played to start Game 6. It's 11-2 shots on goal in the first period. So everything's flipped in this series. And if Edmonton can get the first one tonight again, then Florida's really up against it. Can you imagine that flight back to Florida after Game 6? And can you imagine what you're thinking if you're a Panther and what that's like? Where we can win the Cup and get it done and finally win for Florida in a first Cup, Stanley Cup for the organization. Or if you lose, you're a punchline and a joke. Mm-hmm. If you lose. All the pressure's on Florida, not to mention Edmonton's on a free roll. They've already had a great season. The season was over, you're down 0-3, and now you can just come out and play loose knowing that you can, again, make history, end the drought for Canada. McDavid gets a cup, and it's completely flipped here, where if they get that first goal again, they're also fantastic playing with the lead.
Yeah, it's a lot of great storylines, actually. And you wonder if the Florida Panthers can ever recover from this. You know, they lost in 5 games to the Vegas Golden Knights in the final a year ago.
Yep.
And if you're up 3-0 and you blow this, where do the Panthers go next? It's obviously a disastrous collapse if that happens. I would like, not that I'm a fan of the Edmonton Oilers, but I would kind of like to see Canada in this Stanley Cup drought. It's ridiculous.
I'm with you.
It's completely ridiculous.
Yep.
1993 is the last time a Canadian team won the Cup.
Yep.
Yeah, how is that even possible?
I don't. So I said it. Jonathan Davis is going to say it coming up, and I saw plenty of this on social media. All these people that have future tickets on Florida or bet them on a series price, they're not going to be upset if they lose. Number one, you could have locked in a nice profit because Edmonton was 11-1
but how many
and
people
7-1.
actually did that? See, that's the thing I'm talking about. I know some people who bet Florida Panthers futures.
Right.
And when they're up 3-0, they're counting their money.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
So they weren't looking to hedge.
Yep.
Just never happened before.
Right.
They weren't hedging.
Right.
Yeah.
But the job that Knobloch has done here, and every move has worked out, and even pulling Skinner in the Vancouver series and then bringing him back. But this was all over social media as well. Edmonton, this season, each time after 3 losses under Knobloch, November 24th through December 12th, they rattled off 8 in a row. From December 21st to January 27th, they rattled off 16 in a row. From February 26th through March 5th, they rattled off 5 in a row. And now you lose the first 3 games here, and the difference in turnaround. And that is coaching. And that is pushing all the right buttons. And that is staggering with that tweet, how Edmonton has done after they lose 3 in a row. The other thing is we've always talked about this the last few years because they've been so good and talented offensively. What if Edmonton got good goaltending? And what if the Oilers played solid defense? Well, Skinner now, with the win Friday, is 10-0 in these playoffs in games 4 through 7, with a .943 save percentage and a 1.40 goals against average. That's the other scary thing, where this was always possible if they played solid defense or got great goaltending. And now you put it all together, and they can make history, and they can get it done and come all the way back, and as Matt mentioned, end this drought since 1993. The other thing is the penalty kill and the controversy with what happened with the goal that was taken off in the replay, that they were in that position to challenge, because Maurice said, I wouldn't have challenged that if I was Edmonton. But the penalty kill is 94% in the playoffs. They've allowed 4 goals short, but they've scored 3 shorthanded. So in the entire playoffs, they're only -1. They've killed off 46 of the last 47. The opponent's power plays.
That's insane.
That is insane. So you're in a position where it's like, okay, even if we lose this, no big deal. We're going to kill off the penalty anyway. So 94% for the playoffs, 64 of 68, and killed off 46 of the last 47. That, again, is the be-all, end-all with these playoffs. Again, the team that wins the special teams is 14-0 and won every series. So the Florida, won 22 on a power play.
46 of 47?
Yeah.
Never heard of anything like that. You know, it's incredible.
That is.
Here's another number I can't believe from this series.
Right.
The Oilers win Game 6 5-1. Connor McDavid not only doesn't have a point, he didn't even attempt a shot.
Yep. Another good one. I mean, it really, it's hard to make a case for Florida, but this is why we love sports. And how about
McDavid did not attempt a shot in that game, and he went from minus basically a $3 favorite to a $3,000 favorite to win the Conn Smythe, and didn't even attempt a shot in Game 6.
Yes. Yeah. That's the other part of this story. He was 18-1 to win the Conn Smythe in this series. Now he's 3,000. Yeah. So that's so much to get into. We'll hear from Knobloch coming up next, and all these great numbers and what's on the line. How about I'll give you this number coming up. You won't believe Game 7, the history going back in the Stanley Cup Final, the underrun that Game 7s are on, and Game 7s, period. Plus, we'll tie it into all the other sports as well. That's coming up next on VSiN Follow the Money.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Can't wait. Our NFL betting guide comes out Thursday, and there's never been a better time to become a VSiN Pro subscriber with the all-new NFL betting guide coming out. Got to subscribe now. We go through every team, division previews, best bets, props. Matt Youmans has an awesome opinion and article on a win total that he loves as well. We'll get to that later in the week. Get the guide. You must be a VSiN Pro subscriber. $199. 13 months, less than 50 cents a day. Betting splits as well. Everything you want. But again, you got to be a subscriber to get the NFL betting guide. VSiN.com/subscribe, code FTM. Code FTM, VSiN.com/subscribe. So Brian sent this in before the show, and it checks out. Since 2015 in hockey, Game 7s are 29-12 to the under. Game 7 Stanley Cup Final, 14 the last 15. 5 goals or fewer scored. 14 the last 15. Now, you're going back to like the 40s and 50s here. But still, it's always squeaky bum time in a Game 7. No one wants to make a mistake. And it's tight in how it plays out. And then the history here is on your side. And now we're seeing 5.5 as high as under minus 150 in some spots. And Florida, $1.10, $1.15 as well. And you go back, this is the 18th Game 7, first since 2019. The road team has won 3 in a row. Home teams, 12-5 all time. Skinner, 5-0 when facing elimination. And then Detroit did it, down 0-3 in the final, forced a Game 7, lost. And we know about the 42 Maple Leafs. So it has happened in hockey. And they kept flashing that on during the broadcast on Game 6, which it's hard to get away from, but it's certainly timely. NBA 157-0. NBA playoffs all time when a team goes up 3-0. Major League Baseball 39-1. That's a big one though, with the Red Sox ending the curse and coming back to beat the Yankees. NHL 206-4 in the playoffs, 27-1 in the final. And the Maple Leafs came back to do it in 42. See if the Oilers can join them. I'll start with the total, though. The 14 of 15 underrun. But the last 4 games, though, here have gone over. And 2 of the 4 have gone over the old line of 7.5 plus 450 because we've had an 8-1, we've had a 5-3, and you just saw what happened in the last game with a sick beat. If someone's down a goal or two, the goalie's coming out and he's staying out. It's a Game 7, so it's like there's no point putting them back in. You could have 2 or 3 empty net goals.
Yeah, I'm not going to play the under here. I was talking about this on the Friday night show when actually the numbers opened. Total was 5.5, and at some spots it was minus 120. You're seeing 130 out there now. Like you said, you're seeing minus 155 at DraftKings on the under 5.5.
Yeah.
Can't play that.
I can't do it.
Can't play. You're too late to the party. If you didn't bet that under 5.5 already to lay that price. But the other thing is, I don't trust Bob. Bobrovsky's not been that good, and the defense in front of him has not been that good. It's not just a goalie; it's the defense and the goalie.
Yeah. Yes.
And also, the Oilers' offense has obviously woken up, back from the dead. And you also, Paul, you just mentioned it. You always have that potential for empty net goals at the end. So even though I lean under 5.5, that's not going to be a bet for me at this point.
Yeah. So all those people that bet McDavid to win the Conn Smythe, and maybe people wanted to maybe hedge that way. If they had a Florida ticket, you're going to win both. You could win both, rather. How great would that be? Again, from 18 to 1 to minus 3,000. You also have the MGM bettor, who has a $580,000 future ticket. That's what the ticket would pay if the Oilers win tonight. And we've seen him on social media watching the game. I mean, he was dead too. I mean, think about that. His ticket was Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, Real Madrid to win the Champions League, and the Oilers to win the Cup when they were 11 to 1. And that pays almost $600,000. And then he gave up on it. He's down 0-3, and now he's in this position where if he didn't hedge before the start of the series, he can certainly do it now as well. But how about this? In all sports, the home team has lost 6 straight Game 7s. The home team hasn't won a Game 7 since the 2013 Miami Heat, 4,022 days.
If I recall right, it was kind of a miracle win by Miami, too.
Yeah, it was a choke by the Spurs in Game 6. Missed free throws.
Spurs should have
won
that game.
Ray Allen on the rebound.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You nailed it. Kawhi missed a free throw. I think Ginobili missed a free throw, and then they didn't box out. The Bosch got the rebound. Allen tied it, won in overtime, won Game 7.
A lot of remarkable trends here. You got to see it to believe it. I mean, you're talking about what the Oilers are trying to do or the Panthers collapse. You're looking back in the history to 1942 and 1945 in the NHL.
Yes, yeah. I know. And the 14 of 15 under run, which is insane. But again, you're going back in the 40s and 50s. But still, I'm with you. You're late to the party. But also with the empty net scenario and how Bob has struggled and the firepower with Edmonton, you're also going against 4 straight overs as well. This is a great time to revisit this soundbite. Before the series started, Knobloch, because remember they were there last year, Matt just mentioned it, Florida lost in 5 out here to Vegas, and Vegas won the Cup. Knobloch was asked about how important is experience.
I don't know how much experience is beneficial. You can ask the Buffalo Bills how important Super Bowl experience is. But I think the biggest thing is just having confidence to play. And, when our guys are playing their best, they should have a lot of confidence. Well,
again, the other thing, they're outscored 11 to 1 to start the series, and now it's 20 to 5 Edmonton since then. And
or Buffalo Bills.
Well, I know.
Catching a stray bullet 30 years later.
Yes, yes. But it's a good point he made, though, too. But this is everything looked like experience matters, and they're the best team and up 3-0, and now just it can flip just like that in one game or one period, and to be shook and frozen and playing tight and what happened. I mean, 8-1 will wake you up. I mean, to get blown out 8-1. And your point about what happened in the NBA is warranted.
Sometimes that can be a throwaway game and a gentleman's sweep. You win Game 4 at home and then you get blown out in Game 5. That's what happened in the NBA Finals. Mm-hmm. Mavericks won by 38. Then they come back and get blown out in Game 5.
I do think the NBA is a completely different animal.
Sure.
I mean, you just can't. You see blowouts all the time, people letting go of the rope, whatever. But this is, I think hockey's a different ball game as well. But you've also seen huge tickets cash on first goal scorer. And Fogle was 35 to 1, and Brown was 60 to 1, and Janmark was 60 to 1. So we'll see if that continues tonight as well. We mentioned 1942 a couple of times here already. You can always email ftm@vsin.com or tweet at us as well. This is a great email sent from Mark in Canada. I've lived in Edmonton for 6 years. One of my closest friends and family involves Toronto in 1942, and then coming full circle in Edmonton in 2024. My close friend is Perry Langell. I think it's pronounced the grandson of Pete Langell, Langelle. He played on the only team to come back 3-0 and win the Stanley Cup, on the Toronto team. With Edmonton about to match history, and that this is, Pete's his grandfather, Pete scored the winning goal in Game 7 to solidify the comeback and win the Cup. And we'll be watching the game here in Edmonton with friends at a bar with his grandfather's Stanley Cup for a good luck with the watch. They didn't give out rings, but Rolex watches back then. He attached pictures in the email, and Perry said they gave rings to families in the mid-late 90s, and his grandfather, it could be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But anyways, he attached photos as well. There's a great email that he's watching here with with Pete and the Langell family after what happened in 42 and coming full circle that he lives at Edmonton and watching the game tonight. I thought I'd share that as well. But yeah, there's so much going on here with betting angles and the big games and 0-3 comeback, and I can't believe the McDavid stuff here. I mean, there's as you said, there's so much going on, but it all goes up in smoke. If you give up a softie or something comes out, it's 1-0 5 minutes in, and I just can't imagine what the pressure's like on Florida, though, too. I mean, Johnny Lazarus wrote about it today up at vsin.com. Can you make one case for Florida where we think, I like them here, it's a horrible situation to be in?
Yeah, but I also think Johnny Lazarus liked Florida in Game 6, didn't he?
Yeah, everyone did. Good point.
Yeah.
The whole world was on Florida in Game 6.
I know a lot of handicappers who liked him in Game 6 and now say, I don't know how you could bet him in Game 7. Yeah. Sometimes is better. That's when you have to go the opposite way.
Yes.
You got to think contrarian. So I don't know. I to be honest, I don't know what to do with this game tonight. I'm seeing a price as low as -105 on the market and on the Panthers. Didn't Mike Palm was pretty heavy on the Panthers prior to the series, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I loved him too.
What's he think?
But it was he thought Florida.
No, right now going into Game 7.
Edmonton. He said Florida had to win Game 6 or it's over. Yeah, absolutely. Right. And I like second period over again as well, which should have been a rocking chair winner. But the goal disallowed, but we get there late with the breakaway with like a minute left in the second period. You can bet second period over 1.5 with reduced juice. First period under, juiced heavily. First period under, heavily juiced as well. You won't believe the move in this Major League Baseball market over the weekend. That's next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
So much up at vsin.com. Always Wes Reynolds on golf. We almost nailed it with Kim. He's so good. Our NFL betting guy, Brett Musburger, NFL picks, betting splits, best bets. Johnny Lazarus on Game 7 tonight. College Baseball World Series. Get up there. Check it out. Bookmark at vsin.com. Jonathan Davis joins us now. He's on the Progressive guest line at West Coast Hockey on X, host of the Ice Cap on Sirius XM NHL. And we'll go over picks and props here. Nothing better than a Game 7. I don't care the sport. This is the most important hockey game since 1994, Game 7 Rangers Vancouver. Do you concur?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think from a national standpoint, look, every fan is going to say, look, my Stanley Cup was big, if there was a Game 7. But I think for the magnitude of the league, to have the best player in the game with a chance to win the cup, the way that they have done it down 3-0, it is huge for the league. This is like Michael Jordan in the NBA with a chance to win a championship.
Yeah, and for all those reasons, you have a future ticket on Florida 9-1. If Edmonton wins, you're like, okay, so be it. It's great for the sport. That's okay. I think a lot of people would agree with you.
Yeah, 100%. I really do want to see Connor hoisted. Now, look, I do have a saving grace in that I've got 2 tickets on Connor at one at plus 225 before the Cup final for Conn Smythe, and then jumped in big at minus $2 for Conn Smythe. So there is a saving grace here for sure. Mm-hmm. But big picture, I think it's more important for Connor to win than the amount of money that I've got on Florida.
All right, JD, great to see you up early in the morning. Last week you were on the late night show with me, and you said before Game 6 that Connor McDavid was going to win the Conn Smythe, and you said basically it's a lock. So he went from minus 300 to minus 3,000 without scoring a point or taking a shot. Does that make total sense to you that the Oilers win, even though McDavid's not a big part of it? He's basically, you think, still a lock to win the Conn Smythe.
Well, yeah, I do, only because there was nobody else also that took, that jumped at the opportunity to take over from McDavid. And It's not like anyone on Florida, had a big game in Game 6. Bob laid another egg. There was nothing, Sasha Barkov was Florida's best player, and arguably the best player on the ice in Game 6, but it just wasn't enough. I mean, it was crazy, because I do remember, after Game 5, it was at minus 145, and then to see after Game 6, it went to minus 3,000. I've never seen that in any. I can't recall any crazier jump in a betting line.
So are you looking at maybe Oilers on the reverse puck line? Because I agree with what Ray Ferraro said, that, well, it's just one game, you move on. Not Game 4. They found something, and he said Florida's shook, they're frozen, and they're scared. They don't know what hit them. Because going in, it was 11-1 Florida going into the third period of Game 3. Since then, it's 20-5 Edmonton. I think, this keeps cashing. How about the Oilers on the reverse puck line?
I think that if you like Edmonton tonight, I would either play them reverse puck line. I think that's last time I looked, it was plus 225, or play them to win in regulation at plus 155. If you want to go Edmonton, and I think that I'll do that to offset my Florida ticket. I'll look at one of those two, but I think that is definitely the way to go tonight if you want to play the Edmonton Oilers.
What else are you looking for tonight? Some keys and some props here, and just how this has changed. And we mentioned it. We got the tidbit earlier. 14 to the last 15 Game 7s, 5 goals or fewer. Stanley Cup Game 7. 14 to the last 15, and historically Game 7s have been under machine, and we're seeing as high as $1.50 to the under. But you think it could come out? No one makes a mistake early, first period under.
Yeah, I do. I think, look, I like the under for the game as well. I mean, God, it's incredible how it keeps getting juiced even higher. They don't want to move off 5.5 and drop it to 5. Totally understand that. So, yeah, I would also look at under 1.5 for the first period, and I'd look at under 5.5 for the game. I think those are two viable plays.
Even with the empty net scenario, which we just saw the bad beat Friday in Game 6?
Well, that's why I think I would, pick number one of the two would be first period under 1.5. And then again, there's where I do like the reverse puck line if you like Edmonton tonight.
How about the penalty kill? You made a great point off air that, because Maurice said I wouldn't have challenged if the goal that was disallowed early in the second period. This historic penalty kill, how about this? They're not only -1, you've allowed 4 power play goals but scored 3 shorthanded. 46 of the last 47 you've killed off, and you're 94% in the playoffs. I can't get over that.
Well, and the other thing is that, Paulie, there are 5 teams in the NHL that were all eliminated in round 1 that have given up more 5-on-4 power play goals than the Edmonton Oilers have given up in the Cup final. They've only given up 4 total 5-on-4 power play goals. The Leafs, the Islanders, the Caps, the Kings, and the Jets have all gave up more 5-on-4 power play goals after round 1 than the Oilers. So going into that challenge, I think that's a lot of what. And you want to talk about someone else for Conn Smythe? Noah Siegel, the video coach for the Edmonton Oilers, deserves a lot of ups here and a huge raise for having for challenging, putting in the mind of the Oilers to challenge that call. Yeah. What a phenomenal job he did there.
A lot of talk about Bobrovsky and how he has not been as good. Is it just him, or is it the defense in front of him that's been breaking down as well? And Jonathan, is it a combination of the two? Why do you think the Florida Panthers have not been getting it done on the defensive end like they did in the first 3 games?
They've lost their mojo. I think the 8-1 pummeling was something that it seemed to crush their mindset. They're not the same attacking team that we've seen throughout the regular season and through the first 3 rounds and first 3 games of this series. I mean, they were a group that they were relentless, and they moved the puck out of their zone like a 5-man unit. They're like the Russian 5 moving up the ice in many respects. But the Oilers have found a way to break it down, and the Panthers just haven't been able to respond in any way. But look, the Stanley Cup playoffs are all about an opportunity to change the narrative. Whether it's you have a bad regular season, you got a chance to change it in the postseason. The Florida Panthers Paul Maurice has got to be telling his team, guys, who cares what happened in the last 3 games? It doesn't matter. It's one game tonight, winner take all. put that all in the rearview mirror, and let's go out and win a hockey game tonight.
I understand that, but as a human being, I don't know. That's all they can think about. I mean, that's got to be a brutal plane ride home after Game 6 and knowing, especially if Edmonton gets the first goal tonight. That's all I'm thinking about. I played the damn sport. I mean, my God, this is an all-time joke job here. It's 3-0, and now we're gonna lose on our home ice. And everyone, I can't. That's all I'm thinking about if I'm Florida is how do we blow this?
Well, and that's very fair. I'm just saying that that's the only thing you can do if you're Paul Maurice. But also to your point about if Edmonton scores first tonight, and you can get it, anything I'd say under minus 200 for Edmonton in game, I'd also be jumping on the Oilers live line if they do score first.
Jonathan Davis with us, and JD, you remember back the start of the season how bad the Oilers were, and they made the coaching change and got everything turned around. How remarkable is the story that they have turned this thing around? Because I think a lot of people tend to forget how much of a train wreck they were in the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, Matt, they were 2-9-1 to start the year.
Yeah.
They were 10 points out, I think, right around Thanksgiving, U.S. Thanksgiving. And U.S. Thanksgiving is usually, the marker that if you're more than 2 points out, actually it even goes to earlier in November 1st for some people. I think Elliot Friedman from Hockey Night in Canada uses that as his benchmark. You're more than 2 points out of a playoff spot, you're toast. And yeah, the job that Chris Knobloch has done. The one thing that he's talked about is that when he came in, he just said, Connor, don't worry about everything else. Worry about playing hockey. I'll deal with all the other aspects of helping to make this team better. And Connor was also hurt at the beginning of the year. So was their star defenseman Matthias Ekholm. Health definitely was an issue early on. Health is not an issue right now. The only health concern right now is also Leon Draisaitl. There's got to be something ailing him because he hasn't been the same since round 2.
You like any props?
The only props would be first period under for me. I'm not doing anything shots on goal wise. 21 shots both teams had in Game 6. I'm going to stay away from the saves prop. I just think that the best play out there are the unders for the first period and unders for the game. I think the other stuff you're hoping for. Skinner
has won 5 straight elimination games. He's 10-0 in games 4 through 7 of a series. Are you more confident in Skinner or Bobrovsky?
Well, I'm more confident in the Oilers. I mean, Stuart Skinner has played really well, but he's only had to make 2, I'd say 10-bell saves, games 4 through 7. It was Carter Verhaeghe in game 4. It was Sasha Barkov in game 6. In the second period when the score was 2-0. So he's made the saves he's had to. He hasn't had to be great.
Good to talk to you, friend. Looking forward to tonight.
Pleasure, guys. Enjoy the night.
Appreciate you. There it is. Jonathan Davis, West Coast Hockey on X, Sirius XM NHL on the Progressive guest line. Can't wait. I haven't been this excited for a hockey game since '94. Rangers, Vancouver, which was a great series and an awesome Game 7. Hope it lives up to the hype tonight. More on Game 7 and a stat you won't believe about home teams not getting it done in Game 7. Next, Follow the Money, Paulie Howard, Matt Humans, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Get up there every day. Bookmark at VSiN.com. Nigel Seeley on soccer. Johnny Lazarus on Game 7 tonight. Brent Musburger, NFL picks. College World Series. Everything you want. Shoemaker, WNBA. Best bets, betting splits, odds by state, betting tools. Check it out every day. VSiN.com. Great to talk to this guy. JT the Brick joins us now to preview the Raiders. Raider Nation Radio, Mad Dog Radio. Follow him on X as well. He's on the Progressive guest line. How you been, sir? Thanks for getting up early.
Oh, I couldn't wait to do this. Thanks, guys. Everything's doing good except the heat, the 109 yesterday in Vegas. We'll get through it.
It's tough, I know. Humans playing golf like a lunatic. Hey, we were just talking about this before you came on. Dana White bringing the UFC 306 to the Spear. How was the Dead show at the Spear you went to? Dead and Company.
It was fabulous, Paul. I mean, the graphics were even better than U2, who I saw there. They put a lot of money into that show. And again, it's hard to explain the Sphere because no one who's not, if you haven't been there, you're not going to be able to understand it by just looking at the videos online. It's the best concert experience in the world. It's hard to go to other concerts after you've been to the Sphere. It's the ultimate Vegas game changer.
Wow. Ringing endorsement there. Unbelievable. I can't wait to see a concert there. You were right about this team last year. They almost made the playoffs, and even through the McDaniels stuff, and they still won 8 games and the below-average quarterback play at times. So win total 6.5. You changed my mind on this team. There's a lot of talented players, especially on the offensive side of the ball. What do you think of the Raiders this year?
Well, I think the Raiders are better than all the credit they're getting. A lot of this has to do with, media coverage. The roster's better than it was last year. I don't think there's any debate there, even losing Josh Jacobs, who didn't play in the last 4 games. So the reason this team is getting no love, no attention, no segments on NFL Network and SportsCenter, and no one's talking about them other than you guys today, is because they don't have a marquee quarterback and they lost Josh Jacobs. Aiden O'Connell played. He didn't play beautifully. He did not. Didn't throw a completed pass after the first quarter in Kansas City, but they beat Kansas City. They put up 63 on the Chargers, and they got themselves back in the playoff race late after the McDaniels firing to fight to keep Antonio Pierce's job. Paulie, I don't think, and Matt, Pierce would have got the job if he didn't win the games that he did in the second half of the year in the open tryout. He has the team in the palm of his hands. I thought they had a gift from God in the draft with Brock Bowers, the greatest tight end ever to play college football, coming in. And I think the quarterback debate is fair. I think it's fair to say, is it Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell? And once they decide on that, I think they'll get a little bit more attention.
What do you think happens? Because Minshew's minus $2 to start week 1.
Yeah, I think Aiden O'Connell will start because they're going to give him the ball to start training camp. We'll be down in Costa Mesa, out of here with the weather for a couple of weeks there. And Aiden O'Connell will get the ball to start the preseason and start camp. Now, here's what happens. If Gardner Minshew's fantastic in camp, just like blowing everybody away with this new 12 personnel that they're going to run, and he's better, they'll go with Gardner Minshew, but I think Aiden O'Connell deserved the opportunity to be the starter and get through the preseason. I think that'll be the loyalty of Antonio Pierce. And then if he doesn't win games, it's going to be Gardner Minshew. If he doesn't win early, the Raiders are going to have to make a quick decision on how to fight through this god-awful early schedule on the road, stabilize, and get some wins going early.
Yeah, I said a lot there, and there's a lot to talk about. So, Raiders open on the road against the Harbaugh brothers, the Chargers and the Ravens. That's a tough way to open the season. I think it probably would set up for Gardner Minshew, who's got more experience. You would want him to start on the road in the first couple weeks against the Chargers and Ravens. Maybe not. So, JT, when I mentioned this, a lot of people are like, wow, didn't realize this. Aiden O'Connell in his last 4 starts last season, 8 touchdown passes, no interceptions. Now, the Kansas City game's what jumps out to a lot of people, burns in your memory. They didn't complete a pass after the first quarter. But the Raiders didn't need to throw the ball in the second half of that game. They ran over the Chiefs and won that game. So my biggest question mark here, I like the Raiders' personnel quite a bit. I did the AFC West breakdown for our preview magazine. I think the Raiders' offensive personnel is outstanding. Defense is better. Last 9 games last season, they allowed 16 points a game with Patrick Graham as defensive coordinator. Are the quarterbacks going to be good enough to get the Raiders over this win total of 6.5? And is the schedule a little bit too tough? That's the only 2 big questions I would have here. How would you break those 2 questions down?
Yeah, Matt, good analysis there. First off, I think the X factor for this entire team is Christian Wilkins. They bring over the defensive tackle. Now that Aaron Donald has retired, Chris Jones signed with Kansas City. I think he's top 3 at that position in the league. If he starts blowing up the line of scrimmage, and Max Crosby, who's still going to be double-teamed, you can't double-team both of them. Malcolm Kuntz had a big year on the other end. Tyree Wilson is their 7th pick overall from a year before where he was hurt. This defensive line is really good. So I'm hoping that they're turning the ball over at midfield. They're getting a strip sack or 2 more. They're knocking balls down at the line of scrimmage, and then they're giving the ball back to Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew with better field goal position. They get the best punter in football, I believe, one or two. They got a great kicker, so they can pound field goals. But the issue will be, can they run the ball with Zamir White, who played at Georgia? We're not talking some kid out of Tulsa or out of UConn here. We're talking about a beast who ran the ball, who's got fresh legs. I've said this, guys, if you lined up all 32 running backs in the NFL on a football field with every coach in the league and told them to take off a shirt, they would scream and go, who's the guy who looks like a linebacker? Get him off the field. That's Zamir White. This guy averaged 4.6 in the final 4 games. When he jumped, he started playing more because Josh Jacobs got hurt. So the schedule is tough. The quarterback's playing in a new system now under Luke Getsy from Chicago. It's going to be 12 personnel with Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. This guy, Brock Bowers, you can throw him the ball behind the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage. He could take reverses. He's got to have a big year. The key to the Raiders this upcoming season is one thing. Will they run the offense efficiently early? Just get the ball out. Just get the ball out to Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, and both those tight ends. If you can get the ball out and not have it blocked at the line of scrimmage, you'll pick up more first downs. You'll control the clock more. You can run it with Zeus, Zamir White, and hopefully grind out some wins against a few teams where the Raiders will be underdogs at home and on the road.
Great points. You win 8 games, almost make the playoffs, 27th in points per game, 27th in yards as well. How about, what is this, one primetime game? Am I looking at this right?
Well, I'll tell you what this league did to the Raider Nation. First off, they get them opening up, as Matt said, against the Harbaugh brothers on the road. Nice job, Roger. Couldn't have the home game. You couldn't have the home game against the Chargers and at Baltimore? Why can't we do that? Is there a concert I don't know about, a boy band playing at Allegiant Stadium? And then, the rest of the schedule. You got Cincinnati on the schedule, Cleveland on the schedule, Pittsburgh again, Jacksonville late in the year, at Derek Carr, December 28th in New Orleans. We'll see what happens there. But the key is, if the Raiders can get a split, follow me here. Chargers won 5 games. I know, Matt, I saw your analysis also on the Chargers. Outstanding. They won 5 games. They're going to be better, no doubt, with Jim Harbaugh. That's a Raider home game. That's a Raider home game in L.A.
Yep.
If the Raiders can steal that one, or not steal it, just win it outright, with Antonio Pierce straight out of Compton opening the season with the Raider Nation in a home game, then Carolina comes in for the home opener. If the Raiders can get to 2-1 out of the gate, I think 6.5's a lock.
Yep. Okay. How about playoffs? 3-1. AFC's tough, but they're 3-1 to make the playoffs, 9-1 to win the division.
Yeah, I couldn't believe what it is to win the division compared to the Chargers again. You guys are the experts on this. I mean, how does a team have better odds to win the division that won 5 games last year, lost Keenan Allen, lost Austin Eckler, lost some of the best players on offense, only because the marquee value of the coach? Okay, hey, look, you got 2 sides on any bet. I understand that. But, look, the Raiders' best chance is a wild card. They play Kansas City, I think, tough. I think they're going to be up for the Kansas City games, but I'd be a lunatic if I came on VSiN today and said they're going to sweep or split with Kansas City. You hope to do that. They've won 8 in a row against Denver, guys. 8 in a row. It's hard to win 10 in a row against the team. If the Raiders can sweep Denver this year, split with the Chargers, split with Kansas City, I think they got a pretty good chance for a wild card. Absolutely.
Chargers going to be a lot better, JT. They're not going to miss Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, who are always injured, and their offensive personnel is going to be much better. Their offensive line's outstanding. It's not just Harbaugh. But anyway, the Broncos look bad to me. Do you think the Broncos are definitely the worst team in this division?
Yeah, I think they are. I think the Broncos are going to play better because they got better personnel, and that coach is starting to settle in. But, I think Denver's in a really bad spot. They almost look to be in a rebuild, guys.
Great job, Brick. Good to talk to you. We'll see you soon. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Have a great day.
JT the Brick on the Progressive Guest Line. They get off to that 2-1 start. Lock, he says. There's a lot of winnable games.
When do we get to talk about the Chargers this week? We doing
tomorrow.
Is that tomorrow?
I know. I'm looking forward to it with your breakdown. Absolutely. What we're betting coming up next in Pocket. VSiN, follow the money.